Inspirational musical the Grand Ole Opry House. This one with all the joy and wonder of the glorious scene.
Yeah, you're doing a sister's show, right?
Yeah, actually my other weird daughter, I have two weird daughters.
Both pictured on the book, yeah.
Yeah. She's now starring in a Broadway play. She has a lead in William Inge's Picnic on Broadway. And she's also got some films in the can. She's got an Oliver Stone film coming out this summer. So to get freed up to be available for more film work, she's asked to be let out of the sister's contract.
Gotcha.
So we're doing the last episode, and I'm going to be in it with her.
Terrific.
First time the two of us have worked together.
The difference between chronic hepatitis in remission and like A, B, and C.
Right. We have over 100 different types of liver disease, and people know about A. They talk about that being the contagious one, I guess, and they talk about B, serum hepatitis, and that's transmitted sort of like AIDS. And then C, we've just identified recently, the last few years. C is similar to B, but it's still somewhat of a medical mystery.
But do you know how you got your disease?
I think that the etiology of it is a needle stick when I worked ICU because I'm an RN. And when you're working like in a trauma unit and it's real life and death, and I got stuck a bunch of times, and I think that's it.
But that would have been some time back, would it?
Right, but this is a retroactive virus. And the pathology report on my liver biopsy showed that I had had it present in my liver for years, which was quite shocking to me.
I see. Now, tell me a little bit about duty in the intensive care unit when you're a registered nurse. I mean, things are happening very rapidly there, aren't they? Yeah, what went on a typical day when you were on duty back there?
I worked the 3 to 11 shift, and
that's the tough one.
It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I learned more about myself being an RN than probably anything I've ever done, and I've done a whole bunch of things if you've read the book.
Yes, ma'am, you have.
But the reason I like being an RN is it's one-to-one. It's you and me, and I felt like I could do something to actually relieve your pain, or if you were vulnerable, you know, maybe I could talk to you about that.
Or if you were scared, calm you.
Everybody is scared in the hospital. I mean, you're not only in pain, or you're sick, and maybe you're facing something like surgery. You're worried about losing your job because you're not in the workplace, and they're going to find that you were dispensable. You're concerned about your family and the medical bills you're getting. But RNs right now, there's 1.9 million of us in America, and we've just got to do some changes with RNs in America.
I like the way you say
We've got to address that.
I like the way you say there's 1.9 million of us in America.
I've got my license right here in my pocketbook.
you are still Nurse Naomi, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Would you ever go back and do it again, do you think?
No, but I tell you what, right now, because I am a member of the mainstream medical community, it's really holding me in good stead, because I guess maybe I have some credibility, and I can talk to these doctors, and I can talk to, well, I'm also a victim of a chronic disease. So while I'm studying alternative medicine, I can act somewhat as a translator, and maybe tell that lady who's the cashier at the Piggly Wiggly down in Birmingham, Alabama, or the farmer in Keokuk, Iowa, or the computer salesman in Spokane, Washington.
You know what's so remarkable about you is that, and it's why you are so successful in life, is because you're still just Naomi Judd, and you still, my God, you identify with all these people at the Piggly Wiggly and the guy who's running the farm. I think that's marvelous, that no matter how high your career took you musically, you haven't left home. And you never, that's wonderful.
Barefoot and in the studio.
Well, I'm glad it's only barefoot. You know what that usually goes with, you know. And you know, I've always had a great respect for nurses. Mother Snyder, my mom, is a nurse.
I didn't know that.
She began her nursing career before she met my dad back in the 30s at County General Hospital out in Milwaukee. And to this day, even though she's 85, she'll say, "How you feeling, Tom?" I said, "Fine, Mom." She said, "Good, you know, I'm a nurse, and if anything's wrong, tell me, and I'll let you know if it's going to be okay." She's really cute, you know.
Ever since I can remember, I cannot tolerate suffering. I just can't. One of my first memories is being aware that I couldn't stand to see somebody in pain or unhappy, and I have to do whatever I can do to help them. But what I meant about being an RN and being a victim of a chronic disease, and whatever visibility being in country music has allowed me, I know that God has a purpose for me, and I think all those things come together as perhaps a trajectory to launch me onto the next thing. And I find myself struggling to be that translator for folks and to stand in the gap between not just modern medicine and explain to people, you know, the medical jargon and translate that to the average person on the street,
Again,
but also between the religious community, the spiritual community, and the scientific community. There's two huge chasms right now.
I'm going to ask you about those in a second, but I want to ask you here about something else that might or might not be a part of a routine day in the ICU of a hospital. And that is when somebody in your care comes to the end of life and you have to watch them go. What is that like?
You never get used to it, I can tell you that. And the hardest part for me was always not being allowed enough time to deal with that. And to have to especially go out and tell the family who's in this stinking institution. That's why I believe in hospice. That's why I believe in people who have the conditions and the circumstances are right to be allowed to pass away at home. But it was always the toughest part of what I did, but yet, I know this may sound strange, but I was always grateful that I was allowed that privilege. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. It makes very, very great sense to me that you were allowed the privilege of being the one that helped them make that final step.
Right.
As
And
life
I
came to
remember
an
the
end.
first time I was ever in a clinical setting and was present at a birth, the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right.
They're both just gates, by the way.
That's exactly
You know,
right.
The
Exactly
immutable
right.
law of physics says that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So I want to throw that in. Any sadness that you may have recognized in me is just because
You're a human being with feelings and emotion. I have to pause here for the commercials with Naomi Judd, who is the author of Love Can Build a Bridge. We'll be right back after these words.
This is CNBC.
We are back with Naomi Judd. Coming up a bit later on tonight, baseball player Keith Hernandez as the season approaches and as spring training continues. And we go to Molly now, who is calling from Ohio. Hi, Molly, you're on the air.
Hello, Tom.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
I'm fine, thanks, and I hope you are.
I'm doing fine.
Whereabouts in Ohio do I find you tonight, young lady?
We live near Mansfield. We live about 70 miles north of Columbus. We're right in between Columbus and Cleveland.
Well, I hope that spring is soon to come to Ohio.
I hope so, too, because we had 5 inches of snow Wednesday night.
I used to live in Cleveland, my dear. I know whereof you speak.
Yes, very much.
Anyway, here's Naomi. She's right here. Say hi.
Hello, Naomi. How are you?
howdy, girl.
I just read your book here about 3 weeks ago, and I really was just thrilled with it. My question was to you, did you think that you would ever break into country music? Because I know it seemed like it took you forever to get that one big break.
Well, you know, you don't have a crystal ball in life, and you really don't know. And I tell you what, girl, anybody that says, yes, I always knew that I was going to be Tom Snyder and have my own show.
Yeah. And be barefoot and all that stuff, yeah.
They are
See old Tom wheeze on the air, yeah.
consumption.
Yeah, right.
They're either pulling your leg or they're flat out telling you a whopper. Or they're confused.
Like Molly,
because you don't know. You
Molly,
just do your best.
When you were a little kid, did you know that your life was going to be what it is today? Of course not.
No, because I'll tell you why. I'm glad you were talking about the nursing, because I have a husband upstairs right now that has MS.
Oh, dear.
And we just found out this weekend that he is to get this new medicine. Now, are you ready for the price of this new medicine that may be available to him?
What's the price?
$989 for a month's supply.
Man.
And he's had it for like about 20 years. And he has such good spirits. He's in good, he has to be to have this
Sure,
disease.
sure, I understand. I understand.
But I was so impressed with what she was talking about of doing the nursing and keeping them at home, which we are doing here at home. I have a lady that comes in 3 times a week to help with his care and do his
I really
therapy.
support you in that, Molly. I really do.
What's your husband's name, Molly?
My husband's name is Dean.
Well, listen, give Dean our love, will you? And let's hope that the pills, though they're expensive, help in bringing him back to full health. We'll be keeping our fingers crossed, Molly, and saying a prayer for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
I tell you
Before
one
you
thing,
go, here's Naomi.
I'm really glad that you read my book. I'm not trying to promote the book or anything to folks, but I just want to tell you that as a victim of a chronic disease, I've been studying the mind-body connection, and I'd like to add the spirit-body connection.
Right.
For, I guess, 5 years now. And the research that I've come across is absolutely fascinating. And I'm talking about
You're talking really about alternatives to conventional medicine.
I'm talking about
here.
alternative medicine because, well, for instance, Molly, I just came from doing, Winona and I just did a wonderful seminar with a brilliant doctor, a devout Christian doctor down in Fort Worth, Texas, named Dr. Stephen Vasquez, who works a lot with MS patients.
Right.
He does what's called confluent somatic therapy. Confluent means when 2 or more things flow together.
Right.
And somatic refers to the body experience.
Right.
And what he means is when you have a confluent situation of getting your spirituality right and getting your thoughts, and I'm glad to hear you say Dean's in good spirits, that it affects your body. It's just fascinating work. We're on the frontier of a major medical revolution here in the States.
I'll tell you, 20 years ago and more, we did programs late at night on NBC. Oh, by the way, Molly, thanks for calling and much good luck to you and your family.
Have a good evening. Sorry you had such a bad flight.
Oh, the flight was fine. It's just that I made a total fool out of myself.
Hey, we do it all the time.
Okay, thanks, Lynn.
Okay,
Bye-bye. Or Molly, I'm sorry. Bye-bye now. About patients taking an active part in getting in touch with their own bodies.
Yep.
And focusing on white corpuscle cells and red corpuscles and focusing on organs and organ groups and in cheerleading for them and in urging them on to repair themselves and in urging a healing to begin within the body. And it's remarkable how this works.
There you go.
The other one that blew my mind, we did a show here one night. Remember the guy who came in and they had groups of patients who were prayed for and groups of patients who were not prayed for.
Was that Dr. Larry Dawsey, who's got the book out called Healing Words, The Practice of Medicine?
I think it might well be. But he brought in here documentation that people who are prayed for do far better than people who are
I'll
not
bet you that's
prayed
Larry
for.
Dawsey, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. I know you've had Deepak Chopra,
Oh, the
doctor,
best, the best.
who's a personal friend of mine. And let me just say this right now, because I get real frustrated about the fact that so many people who just don't know yet, haven't been educated or haven't had the opportunity to know. So many folks think that this alternative medicine, that the mind-body connection is New Age, or that it's hocus pocus.
No.
And that's really upsetting to me because I feel like they're being robbed of something that's their birthright.
But if you go back
It
in
is
ancient
not.
times, the Greeks and the Phoenicians and the Romans, this was prevalent in those civilizations. This is not something that we're just uncovering
It's actually
now.
the oldest form of healing known. It's the oldest form of healing.
And
it is scriptural. It's right there, you know, in the good book.
And not that we're saying ignore your doctor, ignore your medicine, not at all, but don't confine yourself to conventional medical.
We have to step out of that orthodoxy. We have to step out of these old molds. And doctors today, God bless them, they just don't have a clue. They just treat the disease. Well, am I going to get in trouble for this?
No.
They treat the disease and they ignore the person who has the disease. And I used to get in trouble, frankly, in the clinical setting because I would call folks by their first name. You weren't Mr. Snyder to me.
Tom.
You weren't just the cholecystectomy. You were Tom.
Listen, I got a commercial here and a lot of people waiting on the phone. We're with Naomi Judd, and coming up now is the Sports Business Minute. Taryn Gottlieb is a new mom, and so Janice Lieberman, is that correct? Sure. The new host, here she is with tonight's Sports Business Minute. Where are we on the mail now? We're pretty current, aren't we? Yeah. I think Kelly's got it under control.
Yes, he does.
And by the way, I think he's coming on St. Patrick's night here.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. By the way, the funny thing is his name. This is so cute. I'll tell you tomorrow night because I don't want to take from Naomi's time. This kid who does our mail, he's so dear. He's an intern and he goes to college, okay? And we asked him his name and we thought he said Frank, or we thought he said Michael Kelly. Well, his real name is Michael Cullen, but we misunderstood it, so we all called him Kelly for about 2 months, and then he did me a favor that involved paying a bill that he had paid. And I said, is your real name Cullen? He said, yeah, but he said, I didn't want to correct you people. So now we call him Kelly, you know, and he loves it, but it's kind of cute. So anyway, we'll answer your mail as quickly as we can. And here is Lynn from somewhere in Michigan. Hello.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Lynn.
I enjoy your program a lot.
Thank you.
And hello, Naomi.
Hi.
I have a couple of questions to ask you. Maybe you have already answered them. I just tuned in late. I was wondering if the song about Grandpa and the good old days, is that written about someone from your family, either your grandfather or Winona's?
Nope. Hate to disillusion you. That was written by a guy named Jamie O'Hara back in Nashville, Tennessee, who was fantasizing about the fact that he never knew his own grandpa, and just trying to imagine what the relationship might have been like.
Okay, next question now, Lynn.
It's a beautiful song. I love it. It's my favorite.
Well, thank you.
My second question is, with your illness, how did you keep from going crazy? Did you do like counter cross stitch or crocheting or
Macrame garage door cover.
Because I found myself.
I got another pillow for you, honey.
Or macrame and IV bottle cover. You know?
Right.
No, honey, not quite.
What did you do, though?
You know, when the doctor told me that I had a grim prognosis because liver disease is the 4th killer in America.
Surely.
Did you know that?
Surely.
You're a pretty bright man. I thought you might, but
No,
most
but
people
somebody
don't.
tells me all these things, you know.
It's the 4th killer in America, and it's actually the #1 viremia in the world right now.
Number one.
Viremia virus.
Gotcha.
You know, it's a virus that causes AIDS. It's a virus that causes cancer. It's a virus that causes liver disease. But what I did, and this really was a piece of work for me because I am an RN, and actually I was going to go on and get my MD when Winona and I took a left turn and started singing together.
Why don't you do that?
Well, our Christian therapist has been trying to get me to go on and get my PhD so I can become
Be
a
a doc.
practicing
Be a doc.
psychology.
Be a doc.
No.
You'd be a great doctor.
No, well, I appreciate that, but
You'd be a
what I'm
wonderful
trying to do
doctor.
right now, I've always sort of felt like a communicator. You know, like,
You're not getting your own talk show.
oh, don't
You're
worry
not
about
getting your
that.
own late night talk show. We got enough.
You would make a great team.
No way, Jose. Now, where was I?
Lynn,
Oh, no, what I've got to do is
you were
maybe be the communicator, because like when you were introducing me as an entertainer, I was sort of curling my toes.
I
going,
know. I know.
"Ugh."
You don't like to talk
I
about.
feel like I'm just sort of an average person. You know, I've never seen myself as different from anybody else. I just sometimes feel like maybe I'm their representative because I'm the one that gets to meet the great Tom Snyder and be
you're
on
the
TV.
great Tom Snyder, please.
But to maybe stand in that gap, you know, and just sort of be a translator, I think that's actually a reason why Ashley's an actress.
Or to point people to say, hey, folks, here is the path.
Yep.
This is whether it be Deepak Chopra or what, here is the path. You ought to go down this one now if you're looking for something and you want to improve. I don't mean just your physical health, but expand your horizons.
Right.
You could be a great pointer, a great
Well,
communicator, and point people in directions.
See, it's all the same. You know, when you start to work on yourself, there's so many layers to it, and that's where the word confluent comes in. When you start working on your body, and you start working on your spirituality, and you start working on your mind, you go to an even higher level of wellness when your health is restored. Not only am I in full clinical remission, but I'm just, I'm a happier person. I have so much more peace. This has been a whole journey for me.
Okay, Lynn, have we answered your questions?
Yes, you have. And I would just like to say I wish you both a lot of health and happiness.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yes,
bye-bye. One more call. They're really stacked up here. Ian in Dallas, Texas. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Tom.
Yes, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
I have two questions
Okay.
for Naomi. One, is she likely to get back with her daughter and do any more shows? And secondly, I think a lot of ladies would like to know how she keeps her complexion. It seems from TV here that she has a wonderful complexion. I think a lot of ladies could probably benefit from the background as to how she keeps it.
Okay, here come two quick answers.
That's very sweet.
Probably not with your daughter on stage again, huh?
No.
Okay.
No, because I'm so proud of what she's doing on her own right now. My motivation, frankly, has always been a mother. I've always, that's my priority, to do
Okay.
whatever I can to help her.
And your complexion secret?
I don't really have any secrets, Ian. I wish there was some. I don't mean to be flippant about it, but.
No, you exercise, you eat right?
I really think.
Geritol, you know, it's a.
I think happiness is the best cosmetic, and I'm not just being goofy about that. I'm very serious about that, because I find that when you have inner peace, when you recognize that you're a child of the Most High God, and you just, I think you draw people to you, and I think that's pleasing. I also make my own soap.
I'm glad you called, Ian. Thanks. Naomi, thanks for a few minutes of your time tonight. Much success, not in the showbiz world, but in finding your dream wherever it is and bringing it to completion. Thanks for coming on tonight. Naomi Judd is the person. The book is called Love Can Build a Bridge. We will continue with the legendary Keith Hernandez of baseball fame after these messages.
This is CNBC.